The day my wife kicked me out over her freeloading brother, I felt like the entire damn universe flipped upside down. 1 second I'm asking a normal, reasonable, grown-ass question, and the next she's screaming like I stole her kidney, while her 30-year-old man-child brother lounged on my couch drinking my beer like some kind of overgrown toddler who discovered the joys of free rent. And before anyone jumps to conclusions, no, I wasn't rude. No, I didn't target him. And no, I wasn't trying to embarrass him. I simply asked him to contribute to the damn house he'd been living in for 7 months. 7 whole months. Rent-free, bill-free, duty-free, work-free, responsibility-free. Basically, he was running his own private, all-inclusive resort at my expense. But the day everything blew up wasn't a day I saw coming. Not even close. It started off like a normal Saturday, coffee, quiet, the sound of a grown man playing video games at max volume like he didn't have 2 brain cells to rub together. I should have known right then that the day would end in pure chaos, but I really did, to hold it together. My wife, Emily, was sitting at the kitchen table scrolling through her phone, giggling at TikToks, sipping the almond milk vanilla latte I'd made for her. Because yes, I was still trying to be a decent husband even though I'd been housing her brother, Jake, who contributed exactly 0 to the home. 0 rent. 0 chores. 0 food money. 0 effort. Negative 5,000 manners. And I had been patient. God knows I had. But after paying our mortgage, utilities, groceries, internet, filling up not 1 but 2 cars because Jake constantly borrowed mine and returned it empty, I hit a limit. Anyone would. That morning, Jake had eaten the entire box of cereal I bought for myself. Not a bowl. The entire box. He didn't even leave a few dusty crumbs like a polite parasite. Just an empty cardboard box shoved back on the shelf like that somehow erased the crime. So yeah, I snapped. Not yelling. Not swearing. Not insulting. Just asked a question. Hey Jake, man. Since you've been here for months, do you think you can help out with some groceries or something? He paused his game, slowly turned his head, and looked at me like I just asked him to donate a kidney. Bro, I'm going through a lot. You know that. He always said that. I'm going through a lot was his emotional coupon code for avoiding adulthood. Lost his job? He was going through a lot. Didn't want to take out trash? Going through a lot. Didn't want to pay bills? Going through a lot. Broke up with his girlfriend a year ago? You guessed it, he was still going through a lot. I get that, I told him. But everyone goes through stuff. I'm not asking for rent. Just maybe help with some groceries or do dishes. He slammed the controller down like I'd committed a federal offense. Dude, I'm family. Yeah, I said. And family helps each other. Emily suddenly chimed in, her voice sharp as a knife. Are you seriously doing this right now? I blinked. Doing what? Asking your brother to help out. He's not in the right mental space to deal with that kind of stress. Stress? Buying eggs was now considered stress? Jake leaned back with this smug little smirk forming on his face, like he'd found a cheat code. Emily stood like some kind of protective mama bear guarding her useless cub. You're being an asshole, she said. That one stung. I wasn't perfect, but I wasn't an asshole, not in this situation. I carried this family financially for years. I paid for everything, from date nights to house repairs to surprise vacations. All willingly. All lovingly. And now I was being called an asshole for asking grown man Jake to contribute $20 a month? Emily, I said, calm but firm, I'm not attacking anyone. I'm asking for help. We're drowning in bills. We've talked about this. You're stressing him out. Oh, for the love of... Jake dramatically sighed. I can't deal with this negativity. I'm gonna go to my room. Technically, my guest room. He stomped off like a teenager after losing Wi-Fi privileges. Then Emily turned on me with eyes full of fire. You need to apologize to him. Immediately. I laughed. Not out of disrespect, but out of shock. Apologize? For what? For making him feel unwelcome in our home. Our home. I shot back. Or my bank account? That did it. She flipped. If you're going to act like this, maybe you shouldn't be here. And that, my friend, is the exact sentence that ended with me standing in the driveway 20 minutes later with a duffel bag of clothes, a toothbrush, and a sense of betrayal so thick it felt like drowning in cold molasses. My wife, my partner, my friend, the person I built a whole life with, chose her freeloading brother over me. Over the man who paid every bill. Over the man who supported her through grad school. Over the man who stayed through sickness and stress and layoffs and everything else. Over the man who loved her more than anything. But life has a sick sense of humor because what happened next? What happened after she kicked me out? It didn't just shock her. It shook her damn world to the core. Because while she was busy defending her brother's laziness, something far bigger and uglier was brewing behind the scenes. And within days, no hours, her entire understanding of her precious brother would come crashing down like a collapsing house of cards. But that's getting ahead of the story. First, you need to know what happened next, after she slammed the door in my face and left me standing on the front porch like some idiot. I walked away. I didn't scream, didn't fight. I just got into my car, low on gas, courtesy of Jake, and drove to the only place I could go. A cheap, run-down motel that smelled like desperation, mold, and old cigarettes. I sat on that stiff motel bed and stared at the wall for hours, replaying everything in my head, wondering how the hell my own wife could treat me like disposable trash, wondering where things went wrong, wondering how I became the villain in a story where I'd done nothing but give, wondering if maybe, just maybe, I wasn't enough for her. But life didn't leave me alone long, because the universe had receipts. And those receipts were about to fall straight into my lap in the most unexpected way imaginable. The motel lights flickered like they were powered by a hamster with asthma. I lay back on the scratchy sheets, still wearing the same clothes, my head pounding. I kept checking my phone, hoping my wife would call. Text. Something. Nothing. Just silence thick enough to choke on. Around midnight, I finally drifted into a restless sleep, only to be jolted awake by my vibrating phone. For a split second, hope sparked in my chest. Emily. But no. The caller ID said unknown number. I answered anyway, voice groggy. Hello. The voice on the other end was frantic, breathless. Is this Emily's husband? Huh? Who's this? My name's Lisa.
I'm Jake's landlord.
I sat up straight. Jake's what? His landlord, she repeated. I got your number from some old paperwork. I've been trying to reach him for months and he keeps blocking every number we try using. I didn't know who else to call. I rubbed my face. He told us he lost his apartment because he couldn't afford rent. She snorted. Yeah, that's the story he tells everyone. But he didn't lose it because he couldn't pay. He was evicted for something much worse. My stomach tightened. Worse? Like what? She took a deep, shaky breath. He was running a scam. Pretty big one. And we found out he used your address on his paperwork. My blood froze. What kind of scam? Identity stuff. Financial fraud. There's a police report involved. And I'm sorry, but the authorities might show up at your house. We didn't know any other way to warn you. For a solid 10 seconds, I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't even think. My brain was doing cartwheels trying to process what I was hearing. Jake. The freeloading couch sloth Jake. The man who ate my food, used my gas, drank my beer. He was involved in fraud? You're sure? I finally managed. Positive. Your address is on the documents. You might want to take this seriously. Then she hung up. I stared at my phone, heart pounding. Jake wasn't just a freeloader. He wasn't just lazy. He was a damn criminal using my home, my name as cover. And my wife kicked me out to protect him. That's when anger, cold, sharp, electrifying, swept through my veins. Not the yelling kind. Not the petty kind. The kind that hits when you realize someone you trusted has betrayed you in ways you didn't even think possible. I jumped up, shoved on my shoes, grabbed my keys, and drove straight back toward the house. I didn't know what I was going to say or do, but I sure as hell wasn't going to sit quietly in a motel while my whole life imploded. When I pulled up, the lights were on. My heart hammered as I walked up the driveway. Before I could knock, I heard shouting. Emily's voice, coming from inside. You did what, Jake? Oh damn. I pressed my ear to the door. Emily was furious, voice cracking with disbelief. You used our address? In his name? Are you crazy? They're coming here. Jake. They're going to think he did something. Jake's voice was trembling. I didn't think they'd actually track it. You didn't think? You never think. You told me you were just having a hard time. You didn't tell me you were committing federal crimes. Federal.
Crime.
Lovely. I knocked. Silence. Then hurried footsteps. Emily opened the door, her face pale and eyes wide. What are you doing here? She said, voice trembling. I stepped inside without waiting for permission. Jake stood in the hallway, looking like he'd seen a ghost, which, to be fair, was the appropriate response. We need to talk, I said. Emily swallowed hard. Before you say anything, I didn't know, okay? Yeah, I replied quietly. I heard. Jake muttered something under his breath. Bro, just let me explain. No, I held up a hand. You don't get to bro me. Emily began pacing. I didn't know he used our address. I swear. He told me he was just staying because he needed emotional support. Jake scoffed. I did need support. Yeah, I said. But you didn't need to use my identity to commit fraud. The room went dead silent. Jake glared at me. Don't act like you're perfect. I laughed. Perfect? No. But at least I'm not committing crimes under someone else's name while mooching off their house. Emily ran her hands through her hair, shaking. Jake, tell me everything. All of it. Right now. And oh boy, he did. Bad idea. Horrible idea. Fantastic entertainment. Jake spilled everything. The scams. The fake applications. The stolen info. The unpaid debts. The fake checks. The whole damn mess. And every piece of it tied back to one address, ours. My blood boiled as he explained how he'd been using my personal information just for convenience. Convenience. As if identity theft was the same as borrowing a cup of sugar. Emily broke down crying. Why would you do that to us? To him? He supported you. Jake looked away. I thought he could afford it. I stepped back like I'd been slapped. Those words hit harder than everything else. Emily's face twisted. Pack your things, she snapped. You're leaving. Tonight. Jake's jaw dropped. What? You're choosing him over me. I almost laughed again. The irony was insane. Yes, she yelled. I'm choosing my husband. You used us. For the first time since I'd known him, Jake didn't have a comeback. He just stood there, small and pathetic. Emily turned to me, tears streaming. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. But it wasn't time for apologies. Not yet. Because what happened next? That was the real shock. Emily stood there trembling, tears streaking down her cheeks, her breathing shaky and uneven. Jake hovered uselessly by the wall like some malfunctioning piece of furniture, eyes darting between us as if trying to figure out who to manipulate first. But something had changed. Emily wasn't falling for the theatrics anymore. Her face was pale, but her jaw was clenched, and the guilt in her eyes said everything. But I wasn't ready to comfort her. Not yet. I was too full of betrayal and shock and the kind of rage that wasn't fiery. It was cold, icy, methodical. The kind that makes you see everything clearly through a razor-thin lens. Emily wiped her eyes. Please, just come sit with me. We can talk. I didn't move. Jake's voice cracked. Come on, don't be like that. I was gonna fix it before anyone found out. I shot him a stare sharp enough to cut steel. So you were hiding it. Jake swallowed. I just needed time. Emily turned on him so fast he flinched. Time for what? More scams? More lies? More using people? He said nothing, and silence from Jake was honestly the most shocking part of the whole damn night. Emily grabbed her phone and dialed someone. I couldn't hear the voice on the other end, but she spoke with this urgency I'd never heard from her. Yes, she said. I need to file a police report for fraud. My brother, Jake Turner, used our address without consent. Yes, I understand. Yes, we'll provide documents. Jake's head snapped up. You're calling the cops on me? Emily didn't budge. You used our address, our life, our home. I'm not protecting you anymore. Jake's voice cracked into a pathetic whine. You're supposed to be family, she shouted, raw and furious. So is he. She pointed at me. The room froze. For the first time in hours, I felt something shift inside my chest. A flicker, small, fragile, of recognition that she finally understood. But the damage was deep. Too deep for a single moment to fix. Jake grabbed his backpack, the one he never unpacked properly after moving in, and started frantically stuffing things into it. Clothes, chargers, loose papers, old Taco Bell wrappers. I swear the guy lived like a feral raccoon. Emily kept her gaze locked on him. You're leaving tonight, and you're not coming back. Jake scoffed, shoulders shaking with anger. Fine. Whatever. I'll figure something out. You two deserve each other anyway. He shoved past me, muttering curses, and slammed the front door behind him. The silence that followed felt like the air had been sucked out of the house. Emily sank onto the couch, face in her hands. For a long moment, she didn't say anything. Then, voice soft and broken. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. But you didn't believe me either. She winced like I'd stabbed her. I know, and that's what hurts the most. I chose him over you. I didn't see what he was doing, and you were trying to protect us. I didn't respond. Couldn't. My head was still spinning with everything. Jake's scam, the police, the fact that Emily defended him so hard she threw me out of my own house. Emily moved closer cautiously, like approaching a wild animal that might bite. I want to fix this. I want to fix us. Please, don't shut me out. I sighed. I'm not shutting you out. But I'm not pretending nothing happened either. Her eyes filled again. Tell me what to do. Anything. Before I could answer, a thunderous knock rattled the front door. It was like the universe was allergic to peace. Emily looked at me, panicked. Is that them? Another knock. Louder this time. I opened the door, ready to deal with whatever fresh hell was waiting. 2 uniformed officers stood on the porch. Evening. We're looking for a Jake Turner. Is this the residence he's been staying at? Emily's breath caught. I nodded slowly. He was here. Not anymore. One of the officers pulled out a clipboard. We need to confirm he used this address on recent documents. We also need to verify whether you were aware of the activity. Emily immediately stepped forward, hands raised like a confession pouring out of her. We didn't know. I swear. We just found out tonight. They asked questions, long ones, detailed ones. We gave answers, every truth, every detail we'd learned just hours earlier. They took notes, asked for IDs, asked about the relationship with Jake. By the time they left, Emily's hands were shaking uncontrollably. I can't believe this is happening, she whispered. Believe it, I said. This is what happens when you enable someone who refuses to grow up. I know. Her voice cracked. I know. And I did this. I let this happen. I pushed you out instead of listening. The guilt was written all over her face. But guilt didn't erase the pain. We talked for hours. Slow, heavy, raw conversation. No yelling. No dramatics. Just truth. She admitted she'd always felt responsible for Jake since their parents babied him his whole life. Admitted she thought I was being too tough on him because she grew up making excuses for him. Admitted she was scared of hurting him because he always claimed to be in a bad place. But most importantly, she admitted something I never expected. I kicked you out because deep down, I was scared you'd give up on us if I didn't protect him. I thought you'd see him as a burden and start resenting me. I ran a hand over my face. I never resented you. I resented him. And the fact that you didn't see it. She nodded. I see everything now. And I'm willing to fight for us. However long it takes. The sincerity hit different. This wasn't manipulation. It wasn't excuses. It was raw truth from someone who finally woke up. And I realized something too. I still loved her. Deeply. Painfully. Stupidly. Enough to want to fix things. But the night wasn't over. Because at 3:12 a.m., just as Emily finally fell asleep on my shoulder, My phone buzzed again. A text. From an unknown number. You think you won? This isn't over. Jake. I stared at the screen, jaw tightening. No, this was far from over. What happened next? That's where segment 4 begins. Where everything spirals into a confrontation that none of us saw coming. I stared at Jake's text. The neon glow of my phone illuminating the dark bedroom. Emily was asleep, finally breathing steadily after tears and panic attacks and hours of unraveling. I didn't want to wake her, not after everything she'd been through. But that text? It wasn't just a threat. It was a promise. And knowing Jake, it wasn't an empty one. Still, I turned off the phone and lay back down. I needed rest. Tomorrow would be hell. When morning came, Emily was already awake in the kitchen making coffee. She looked exhausted but determined. Like someone who decided she wasn't letting her life burn down without a fight. I'm going to my parents today, she said. I have to tell them everything. They need to know Jake isn't the helpless baby they think he is. Do you want me to come? I asked quietly. She shook her head. No. This is something I have to do alone. They won't blame you anymore once they know the truth. She kissed my cheek before leaving. Felt like a small piece of normal returning. But normal wasn't on today's schedule. At exactly 11:42 a.m., I heard a car screech into our driveway. Tires grinding. Engine sputtering. I stepped outside just in time to see Jake stumbling out of a beat-up Honda. Hair wild, eyes bloodshot, face twisted with anger. He marched toward me, jabbing a finger in my face. You ruined my life. I didn't move. No, Jaque. You ruined your life. I just refused to let you drag us down with you. He scoffed. You think you're better than me? You kicked me out. I had nowhere to go. You had 7 months to get your life together. He laughed bitterly. Yeah, well, now you're gonna pay for what you did. I felt my muscles tense. What the hell is that supposed to mean? But before he could answer, a car door slammed. Emily. She must have turned around the moment she saw his car. Her face went white. Jake, what are you doing here? Jake turned, almost triumphant. Telling Loverboy here that he made a big mistake messing with me. Emily ran to stand beside me. No. You're not doing this. Not again. Jake sneered. Oh really? What are you gonna do? You already chose him over your own blood. I chose right over wrong. She snapped. You used us. You lied. You committed crimes under our roof. You almost got my husband arrested. Jake's lip curled. He deserved it. No. He didn't. Her voice shook. And you know what? I'm done feeling responsible for you. I'm done letting you destroy everything. Jake blinked, stunned. Emily continued, voice trembling but fierce. You're going to turn yourself in. Today. Jake laughed in her face. The hell I am. Yes, she whispered. You are. Because if you don't, I will. And I will give them everything. Something changed in his eyes then. Panic. Desperation. Real fear. Because Emily had always been his shield. And now she was a blade pointed straight at him. He tried switching tactics. Please. I'm your brother. You love me. I do. She whispered, tearful. But I love my husband more. And I love myself. And I'm not letting you burn my life anymore. Jake staggered backward like her words physically hit him. For the first time, I saw him not as a freeloader or a parasite, but as a broken man who'd been enabled his whole life until reality finally slapped him. He climbed back into the car, hands shaking. This isn't over, he said, voice cracking. Emily stood tall. Yes, Jake. It is. He sped off. This time for good. Emily collapsed against me, sobbing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. I held her. Not because everything was forgiven, but because healing had finally begun. Over the next weeks, everything unfolded. Jake turned himself in. Emily's final ultimatum broke him. The police cleared us of involvement. Emily started therapy to confront her guilt patterns. And we started marriage counseling. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't instant. It wasn't easy. But we rebuilt, brick by brick, truth by truth. And the shock that hit Emily? It wasn't just that her brother was a criminal. It was the realization that the man she kicked out, the man she doubted, the man she pushed away, was the one who had been fighting for her all along. Months later, Emily said something I'll never forget. I thought protecting Jake made me a good sister, but listening to you made me a good wife. And that was when I knew we made it through the storm. You just heard a story of betrayal, survival, and quiet revenge. If it left you thinking, hit like, share it forward, and subscribe for more true emotional stories that'll stay with you long after they end. Every click helps another story find its voice.